All right, guys, let's hit this off. What is going on, guys? First video of the day here in the afternoon. Welcome in Kurt Magoo Sports. Let's talk about Dabo. Let's start off with Dabo Swinney. He was spotted at the Las Vegas Raiders game, right? That's what Dabo was doing. And he was watching Las Vegas Raiders versus Washington Redskins, where the Raiders lost in a close game. He was wearing Raiders gear. Hunter Renfrow, Trayvon Mullen, Colleen Farrell. There's a lot of Clemson guys that are on the Raiders. Even they drafted Tanner Muse. So you know that the Raiders are tight with Dabo Swinney. You know that the Raiders have been reaching out to Swinney because they go to Clemson every year in order to look at their players, right? You know, in order to draft Colleen Farrell, in order to draft Trayvon Mullen, Hunter Renfrow, of course. There's probably other Clemson guys that are on this Raiders roster. The interest from the Raiders makes a lot of sense because you've had turmoil stemming from Lane Kiffin, Jamarcus Russell. Of course, you know, you have Del Rio, and then the previous regime, you know, was let go. There's an interim coach that's now there. So the Raiders, and there's a lot of investigation going on still with, of course, you know, you had Henry Ruggs and John Gruden that ended up happening to the Raiders. And the Raiders let go of John Gruden, and then you had the Henry Ruggs situation. So the Raiders, what they're looking for going forward is, you know, the Rich Bisaccia, he's not going to end up being the next head coach, I don't believe. So they're looking for some kind of stability. From a personality standpoint, they're looking for someone that is going to, you know, change the culture a little bit of the Raiders. And they are in a very tough division. So the interest in Dabo would make sense from the Raiders because he has had a lot of stability. He was able to keep Brent Venables a very long time. The standard at Clemson was unbelievable. He's a college football Hall of Fame coach. He's won 2 national championships at Clemson. He has gotten to... He was in the national championship against Bama, and he also lost the national championship to LSU. So he's went to 4 national championships during his time at Clemson. 4 national championships, 2-2 in those games. He is the second best coach in college football to Nick Saban. All right. So the interest would be very high from the Raiders' perspective, obviously, to try to allure Dabo Swinney, because what other NFL head coach is going to want to go to the Raiders with all of, you know, you're playing in the Mahomes division, you're playing in the division with Brandon Staley, with, you know, Justin Herbert. The Broncos have a really good defense. So it's one of the toughest divisions, and then you're also dealing with an owner, you know, spent a lot of money on John Gruden, and then the Gruden, you know, the emails happened to be released, and that's what ended up happening is that the team decided then to fire John Gruden, and they owe John Gruden all this money. So there's so much turbulence, and it's Vegas. So if I was an NFL head coach, I would not be interested in going to Vegas because the son of Al Davis, Mark Davis, has not shown the ability really to put together a team. I mean, the team hasn't made the playoffs. They had that one season where Derek Carr was awesome and then Connor Cook lost to Brock Osweiler in Houston. Other than that, they haven't really been to the playoffs. Now, you do have brand and tradition, but you're not in the Oakland Coliseum. I know that the fans are very good in Vegas, and it's still, a brand. I love the Coliseum because I love the tradition of Oakland, and, I loved even the baseball diamond and going back, I loved, how it was like a small town feel with the Oakland Raiders, obviously. Now they're in Vegas. There's a lot more distraction. So in terms of interest from other NFL head coaches, you're dealing with an extremely turbulent situation with a coach that was going to be there a long time, with a star wide receiver that was going to be there a long time that are no longer there, and a team who hasn't made the playoffs in a while, and an owner that hasn't shown the ability to be like his dad in this circumstance. But let's talk about why Dabo Swinney specifically, why this is something to consider for Dabo. All right? Let's peek into the mind of Dabo Swinney here. Let's do this exercise. Dabo Swinney is a very religious Christian guy. Derek Carr is also a religious Christian. They're both incredible characters. They have a bond. You saw that on the sidelines. That's been reported. Hunter Renfrow is like a son to Dabo Swinney. You have Colleen Farrell and Trayvon Mullen. You have all the Clemson guys already there. The next thing for Dabo Swinney is he's always been in the South. He was at Alabama. Then he went to Clemson, I believe, in 2007 as the interim coach. I'll go in and clarify, all right, Dabo's stops, all right? So Dabo Swinney, all right, he was from Alabama. He grew up very poor in Alabama, and I am correct. I am correct in that. He's only been to Alabama and Clemson. So he's only been on the southeastern part of the United States of America. All right? Dabo Swinney's age, he's 52 years old. Just turned 52. So his family and his kids, they've experienced the South. They love the South. South will always be home for Dabo Swinney. But he's never been to the West Coast. He's never been to Vegas. He's never been out to a big city, and he's never been out to the West Coast in terms of living on the West Coast. That, for Dabo and his family, that's a new venture. That's Lewis and Clark type stuff. For a 52-year-old guy to then venture out to the desert and living life in Vegas, that's the type of thing that can invigorate a 52-year-old Swinney. Other things with Clemson that are worth noting about Clemson. The athletic director that was there for 8 years with Dabo Swinney just took the Miami athletic director job. So the Miami AD, guys, is a guy by the name of Dan Radakevich, all right? And he, of course, is so tight with Dabo. So your boss, your main guy, Dan, left to go to Miami. Your other guy that you consider your blood brother, Brent Venables, the guy who led the defense, who's the best defensive coordinator in all of college football. That's a college football Hall of Fame defensive coordinator, a guy who's like blood relative. He ends up leaving to go to Oklahoma. So now you're at Clemson. You don't have an AD. You don't have a defensive coordinator in Brent Venables. You ain't going to get a better one. The chances of that are 1 in a million % that you're going to get a guy that can also be like Brent Venables as a defensive coordinator. Tony Elliott, a guy that you were really good friends with for 5 years as a guy who led your offense, is also gone. You don't really have a quarterback there now. Here's another thing about Dabo. Does he like NIL? There are statements no. He likes the purity of college football, meaning he doesn't love how, guys that are 18, 19 years old are worried about making money. He doesn't love how the boosters are throwing money at players. The Texas offensive linemen are making $50,000 off of boosters. It's pay for play. It's official pay for play. Dabo Swinney, he likes how these guys, 18 to 22 years old, you don't have to worry about really egos and money getting into college football, even though we know it all happens anyway. So Dabo Swinney, the NIL, the landscape of college football, is it going to be a 12-team playoff? The ACC in general, the SEC adds Oklahoma and Texas, all right? The Big 12 adding BYU. the conference realignment is starting to get ridiculous. All right? You also look at college football. Coach Ed Orgeron wins a national championship. New AD, Coach O, no offense, you're not really my type. Scram, get out of here. Dan Mullen, all right, gets to an SEC, wins the division. Has Kyle Trask in a great offense. They graduate Trask and one of the best tight ends to play college football in the last 15 years. Hey, Dan, get out of here. Lincoln Riley heads out, to USC. There's other coaches that end up getting Manny Diaz, goes to Pitt. This is in Dabo's division. He sees Manny Diaz, beat the champions. He sees them start to develop a young quarterback. Sorry. We want Mario Cristobal. But in fairness, that's his old AD. And the old AD is like, listen, there's more money at Clemson, or more money at Miami. And for Dabo Swinney, he's never been to the NFL. He's never been to the West Coast. He's dominated college for 12 years. Even Nick Saban tried on the NFL. Urban Meyer tried on the NFL. Steve Spurrier tried the NFL. It's always something that has probably appealed because guess what? Dabo's a competitor. Brent Venables is out in the middle of the country now. Tony Elliott's gone. Jeff Scott's gone. All the buddies are gone. 12 years. It's been tremendous. 15 years, pretty much, stemming from 2007 to 2021. What is the upside of staying at Clemson? You stay at Clemson, you never try the NFL. Your bond with Derek Carr is a unique bond. Derek Carr as a human being is really a one in a million type of human being. The way he responded to losing head coach John Gruden, the way he responded to losing one of his really good friends, really potentially for decades in prison in Henry Ruggs. The emotional toll of that can break just about anybody. And Derek Carr has shown grace. He stood up in the face of adversity. He doesn't shy away from questions. He has deep faith, incredible family man, and he's dealt with Khalil Mack being traded. He's dealt with the Raiders, and he stayed loyal to the Raiders. So really, for Mark Davis, bringing on Dabo, it would reinvigorate Carr. It would bring, it would bring stability because that's what Dabo is. That's what he was at Clemson. He was stable. All right, it would bring a special kind of bond to the Raiders. And for Dabo, as I just pointed out, there are a lot of factors. He doesn't like the way college football is going with the NIL and coaches immediately getting fired. All right, probably targeting he doesn't like either since his main linebacker, Scalzi, would pretty much missed the Ohio State game last year because of targeting. The NFL is a challenge. Living in the West Coast is different for a 52-year-old guy who's never ventured out there. All right, Dabo Swinney, grew up, homeless with his mother, in a shelter. And this is documented. He grew up, single mother, didn't have dad around, made it to Alabama as a walk-on wide receiver, scrapped, went to Clemson, built this powerhouse. Okay, Dabo Swinney, for him to be the head coach of the Raiders, the tradition of the Raiders, it makes so much sense. This is the one job that makes sense. Going to Jacksonville with the ownership isn't good there, and that the team is in flux, might move out to London. They hired Urban Meyer. They aren't going to take they hired their college coach. They're not going to take a chance on Dabo. Where's the money there? It's not really going to work. Derek Carr, but living in the West Coast, like all of those factors, living in Vegas, you're not living in L.A. It's a little bit smaller than L.A. And again, for this challenge for Dabo, this is something that really connects a lot of dots and is actually something that could have steam to it, that could actually have some substance to it.